At some point, the conversations change. Early on, everything sounds simple. Did she have fun? Did she learn something? Did she enjoy being on the team? Those questions feel safe. They feel like parenting. But somewhere along the way, the language shifts. What position is she playing? Who's starting? Who's getting looks? You don't notice the shift when it happens. It sneaks in quietly. During car rides home when the music is low and nobody talks right away. In sideline conversations that start casual and end a little too serious. It shows up when parents stop asking about effort and start asking about opportunity. And once opportunity enters the conversation, comparison isn't far behind. Club volleyball is competitive by design, not just on the court, but everywhere around it. Parents watch lineups. They watch rotations. They watch which kid gets pulled in tight moments and which kid stays in. And even if you tell yourself you're not paying attention, you are. Because when you're investing this much time and money, awareness becomes automatic. Nobody teaches you how to navigate that part. There's no handbook, no orientation meeting. You're just suddenly inside it. And this is where the psychological cost starts to show up. Because your kid doesn't experience volleyball in isolation. They experience it inside a system of rankings, evaluations, and opinions. Some spoken, some implied, and some that live entirely in silence. The hardest part is that you can't fully protect them from it. You can encourage them, you can support them, you can remind them of who they are outside the gym, but you can't control how the system sees them. That realization changes how dads show up. You start listening differently, to coach's words, to pauses between sentences, to what's said after practice instead of during it. You learn to read tone. You learn to read patterns. And sometimes what you read doesn't feel fair. That's another hidden cost. Not money, restraint. Learning when to speak and when to stay quiet. Learning when advocating helps and when it hurts. Because in this system, perception matters almost as much as performance. And perception is fragile. One conversation, one email, one emotional reaction in the stands. Dads learn quickly that visibility cuts both ways. So they sit back, they absorb, they manage frustration privately, they vent in the car, they replay conversations in their head, they ask themselves whether they should have said something, or whether saying something would have made it worse. That restraint takes energy that doesn't get counted anywhere. Then there's the long view, the years ahead. Because once recruiting enters the picture seriously, the timeline stretches. Sophomore year, junior year, senior year, commitments, decommitments, offers that come early, offers that never come. You realize something uncomfortable. There are far more talented athletes than there are spots. And effort alone doesn't decide outcomes. That's not a message kids hear often. And it's not one parents like to accept, but it's part of the landscape. So families start hedging. They look at multiple paths, multiple divisions, multiple levels. They attend events just in case. They keep options open. And keeping options open costs something, financially, emotionally, mentally. You're always planning for a future that may not happen. You're always preparing for a moment that might never arrive. And planning without certainty is exhausting. That's where fatigue deepens. Not the tiredness that comes from long weekends and early mornings. The kind that comes from waiting, from hoping, from not knowing when or if clarity will come. This is when some families start to pull back quietly. They don't announce it. They don't post about it. They just stop signing up for everything. They stop traveling as far. They stop chasing every opportunity. And sometimes they stop altogether. From the outside, it looks like a decision. From the inside, it feels like survival. The families who stay usually don't double down. They adjust. They recalibrate. They redefine success. They stop asking, how far can we go, and start asking, how healthy is this for us? That shift is subtle, but it's powerful. Because once success isn't measured only by outcomes, the experience changes. You start noticing different things. Your kids' confidence, their friendships, their ability to handle pressure, how they respond to coaching, how they deal with disappointment, how they bounce back after a bad weekend. Those things matter long after volleyball ends. And volleyball does end. That's another truth nobody likes to talk about. No matter how talented they are, no matter how invested you've been, at some point, the whistles stop. The schedule clears. The weekends come back. And when that happens, families are left with what they built along the way. Some have great memories. Some have regrets. Most have both. Dads feel that moment in a specific way, because when the structure disappears, reflection fills the space. You think about what you did right, what you might have done differently, where you pushed too hard, where you maybe could have pushed more. You think about the arguments you avoided, the ones you had anyway, the sacrifices you made without being asked, and whether the trade-offs made sense. That's why intention matters so much. Not at the end, but early and often. Because intention keeps the system from running you. It reminds you that this is a choice, a commitment you renew season by season, not an obligation you're trapped in. The dads who look calmest in the stands aren't disengaged. They're grounded. They've decided what matters. They've accepted what they can't control. They've learned to support without spiraling. That doesn't mean they care less. It means they care smarter. They've learned that being present beats being perfect. That listening beats lecturing. That sometimes the best thing you can do after a tough loss is say nothing at all. Just be there. Just sit in the silence. Just let the moment pass. That presence is the real investment. It doesn't show up on credit card statements. It doesn't come with receipts. But it's the part kids remember. Long after the scores fade. Long after the rankings stop updating. Long after the uniforms are packed away. They remember who showed up. Who stayed steady, who didn't make the moment heavier than it already was. That's the part that lasts. That's the part that matters. This is Volleyball Dad Diaries, and the story keeps unfolding.
It's the wrap